experienced the medieval torture method that is iReady, consider yourself extremely lucky, because me and thousands of others have had to endure this sorry excuse of a learning website. What's crazy is I haven't had to do this website in years, but the scars are still fresh in my mind. iReady, like a ton of other learning websites, use repetitive and quite frankly boring methods of teaching, if you can call it that. If you've never had to do it, iReady is pretty much split into two sections. One is the diagnostic and the other is the lessons. If you're one of the lucky people who never had to participate in this hellish experience, the iReady diagnostic is something I can only describe as being the single most boring, unnecessary, and irritating thing to ever exist. Not only does this often take more than an hour to complete, this test is quite literally made to have students get about half the questions right and about half wrong. It's not about even trying to test what you know and if you can apply it well. If a student answers correctly, the next question is automatically harder, and the inverse is also true, with each question getting easier for each one answered incorrectly, which by itself doesn't sound all that bad. But imagine you're a second grader completing 8th grade level questions. Mind you, all you did was get a question right, and now you're 6th grade levels ahead somehow. So to encounter at a second grade level algebra problems when I just learned how to do fractions is insane. On the other side of that, being an 8th grader completing second grader work is crazy. It almost feels spiteful, like the website is calling you dumb and slapping you in the face with the wrong answer, or rewarding you and giving you collegiate level work. Despite being the way the system was designed, it caused so much anxiety and frustration. What's crazy is that the parents and teachers can't even see the students' exact answers, which completely leaves them in the dark, making the test obsolete. Personally, I think these websites were created as a way to measure students not as people, but as metrics. I remember how much emphasis was often placed on these diagnostics. They were even used to dictate how students were categorized in the classrooms, which created a social hierarchy and unprecedented stress that no doubt contributed to the deterioration of some students' mental health. Now that I'm thinking back on it, our generation got done so bad. We got placed in the middle of a technological revolution and had to experience them working the kinks out of these softwares. Mind you, schools are still using this website to this day. Next, I want to talk about the lessons part of this site. These are the worst lessons I've ever had to endure as a student. They genuinely serve zero purpose, as when you complete the diagnostic, it just throws you into a pool of assignments to complete. Every time I completed one of these lessons, I couldn't do anything but stare off into space, especially because your teacher will give the class an iReady weekly minute goal. I vividly remember zoning out on multiple occasions due to this. I'm not sure if it's been updated or even given a revamp, but I know it was terrible when I had to do it. It just kind of feels like a lazy ploy to encourage students to assimilate rather than actually taking the time to cater to each student. Because, you know, who wants to do that? Instead of actually teaching us, they put us on these websites that teach you nothing and pretty much just take a bit of your soul with each passing minute. Not only that, but the mascots for the websites are just interesting. Despite more than likely having the funding for actual animations and genuine thought and effort, the mascots are just soulless. I couldn't imagine having to look at those characters past elementary school, let alone middle school or high school. For anyone out there who has to complete iReady and you're in high school, here's a moment of silence. I genuinely feel for you on a personal level. A tool that is used all across the country looks like it was drawn in Microsoft Paint. It just feels lazy, and as kids, it's easy to tell that this is just something meant to take up our time. Basically, it's used as a substitute for actual education, which most definitely contributed to the iPad kid epidemic we have nowadays. Now, given that we all know this is a terrible experience, why in the world has nothing been done to change this fact? Well, that's simply because they could care less. Do you think the people that made this website have their kids doing this? I'd say there's no way they do. I don't know, maybe instead of trying to be lazy and cut corners, maybe instead there should be an emphasis placed on education. The literacy rate is quietly dropping and classrooms are starting to look like war zones. Hey, someone had to say it. As students, we deserve to be given the opportunity to prosper and achieve success, not split into categories and given these repetitive assignments as if they